Special episode brought to you by Fortress Building Products.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at with your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Still in Texas. For sure, we've recorded more minutes of the actual podcast than time we've been here somehow. I'm not sure how that works, but it's been a pretty quick stop for us here in Mount Pleasant, Texas.
Showed up and then just started collecting content.
Yeah, hasn't stopped.
Talk to everybody, right? Okay, hopefully you wrote their names down because I've met 60 people, 70 people, and we're getting them wrong.
Yeah,
if you
good
didn't
luck.
write them
No,
down.
I did.
Okay.
I did because I don't trust my memory either.
Good.
We've got Kevin Burt, Director of Innovation from Fortress Building Products.
Hello.
And Tim Sandlund, without the D's, Director of Marketing from Fortress Building from Fortress Building Products. There's no D's in
building
Texas.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining on the podcast. You guys are a pretty, I would say, huge part of this event that we're all enjoying here right now. So that's great to be able to talk to you guys for a little bit. So I first want to know, when did you guys get involved with this event, and what was your response to it right away? Was it because obviously Ashley put this together really kind of, I would say, last minute. And so what did that look like for you guys? The call came and you just kind of, let's go and make it happen? Or?
Oh, it wasn't a call. It was a Facebook message on the Elite Deck Builders page.
Okay.
And I think within minutes, probably 3 or 4 of us were texting back and forth, kind of figuring out, what is this?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What has happened to us?
Yeah, and how involved are we going to be?
Yeah.
So we talked to Scott Sheffield, one of
Yeah.
our reps who knows Ashley well.
Yeah.
Talked to Ashley probably within a couple hours, and it just kind of exploded from there.
Right.
So we just started talking to people, and we just said, hey, if this is all about steel, all about unlifting steel within the industry, then we're in.
Yeah.
Right? If it's competition, if it's a verse, us versus them, we're not in. Right? But we want this to be all about the industry and what steel is doing, and that's what brought us together.
Yeah, and so I've slipped up on that a number of times. I keep wanting to say steel versus steel, and I have to catch myself and be like, no, not steel versus steel. So you guys you're part of this display outside. What size was that? 16 by 16?
16 by 20.
16 by 20 with a curved radius on the edge, which we'll get to because that's really cool. You can do
fairly
steel. And then your Fortress Apex decking on top, which is, to me, one of the most realistic looking products out there.
Thank you.
Especially that dark brown one is you could fool a lot of people with that one, that's for sure.
I think that's the idea.
We're also gonna add railing, and a pergola
Right.
on top of that.
Yeah, looks like that might have to wait for another day. It looks like out there
Ashley's building that himself.
they're starting to slow down in the heat out there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that definitely will not happen today.
Everybody's run out of steam, right? It's 2 hard days
Yeah.
in hot weather.
Right. So what kind of value have you guys taken from this event so far for yourselves? You're here, you want to be part of something collaborative. That's absolutely happened out here. I think it's super cool, kind of the vibe that's in this room right now. But what have you guys taken out of it?
For me personally, I think just having the opportunity to see old friends and people that I haven't seen for several years throughout COVID. It's been good to meet people again. Get feedback. It was interesting to meet with Jason Alloway with Newcastle and learn about what he's doing and then share with a lot of the people, deck builders here and the manufacturers, what Fortress is doing as we continue to grow as an organization.
Yeah. I think it is important to the fact that you guys are working together is fantastic because it's it's not a new industry, steel framing. It's been around for a bit, but it is new though. To 99% of people, they've never heard of the idea of doing steel framing on a deck, and it's hard for one company to kind of come in and create a new market by themselves. It's almost like every great company has always had a competitor that they've been able to leverage off of and kind of build the market together. And like the Coke and the Pepsi, and everybody's if you didn't have that, you wouldn't kind of potentially, well, maybe you would because you're the director of innovation, but it's easier to innovate when you've got somebody pushing you a little bit too, right?
Well, rising tide lifts all ships.
That's right.
So we actually had a discussion before you even came of this is good for the industry, right? And we got some of the top deck builders in the country here.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of them use our steel framing.
Yeah.
They may not use our decking. Some of them use our railing, but we wanted to lean into that and get their feedback and build those relationships on the steel framing side. So it's just cool to have everybody together. And excited about what's happening in the industry.
For sure. So one of the things, we jumped on board with the steel frame product with Fortress Evolutions last year from a stock and dealer position because we loved what we saw with it. We were always curious about the steel frame and saw the potential of it. But your guys' system, when you came out with it, was very friendly, and that's why it was so easy to adopt, because it was very familiar in how it goes together. You know, it carries and kind of acts like wood in a way with a full 2x6 as opposed to a C-channel and stuff like that. And it was very just like, it was Lego essentially, right? Everything made sense. Without even looking at the instructions, you can probably figure out how to put one of the Fortress Evolution decks together. But a couple of the cool things that we want to talk about today was the stair system, for one, because that's one that other products that have been out there, whether it was the Old Trax Elevations or the Bailey product or other ones that are out there, haven't ever really figured out the stair portion of that. And that's kind of, I think, limited the adoption a bit, because it's like, well, if I can't do it all, then what's the point? But you guys came up with a stair tray system, and what I didn't know is that you've improved it already. Showed up yesterday and was like, here's how this new one works. It's adjustable. It's like, oh, that's fantastic. Because that was kind of something people that had mentioned. It was like the run on the stairs doesn't work all the time kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So our Evolution stair system, I'm fortunate to work with a great team of engineers and designers in my group, and we recognized early on that the stairs are one of the most difficult parts of a deck to build. To get to meet code, there's a lot of code regulations that go along with stairs. All the steps, the rise runs have to be the same. And we just came out with a way that we could, with adjustable brackets, fixed brackets, to make that easier, along with the stair calculator that's on our website. But it's just, I've got a great team that is very innovative in their thinking and engineering. So what we ended up coming up with, you mentioned the new adjustable stair tray. With our adjustable stair bracket, the adjustable tray now allows us to have some slight variation in the width of the tread. So it allows a little more flexibility to meet the different rise runs, and if you have the different styles of ways your stair meets the top of your deck surface. So
right,
it's been a really good system.
And so, what is the range on that stair tread out there? It's
the stair tread. Shame on me, I can't remember the exact dimension, but I think it allows us to have like an additional inch.
You
right.
had
So
one
10
job.
to 11 inches or something like that.
It's
Kevin,
not a lot.
you had one job, Kevin.
One job, I know.
Right?
I dropped the ball there. But no, it's that 1 inch. Even though it sounds like a small amount, it does provide us with the adjustability that we need to still have a code compliant step, and without adding a lot more material to increase costs.
Well, it's just like that's probably all that's needed, because you do need to make these micro adjustments for a deck board that might be 5.5 inches wide versus one that's 5 1/4 inches wide, and then whether you have an 1.5 inch stair nosing or an inch stair nosing, and how you're doing your riser board, like it doesn't have to expand a whole bunch. It's just got to be able to make that little micro adjustment for each board that you might be using, because your system will work with anybody's decking. It doesn't have to necessarily be Fortress Apex. It'll work with every decking product out there, right? So,
and I think one of the things that's important from their side of the business is they know that that's happening, right? There's a lot of guys that are using their framing and using somebody else's decking.
Yeah.
So rather than getting in their way, just help them, right?
Yeah.
Because
100%.
at least you're going to get that. Because if you don't help them, if you don't find a way to make that other product work, they will find one that will, right? And then you get none of it.
here even.
Right? Yeah.
Not much of a stair system on that one yet, but the curved thing is really cool too, because we've familiar with it, get it, but I've never actually seen one built yet.
Yeah.
And it looks like that went together pretty slick. Like it's, you guys have thought of that even, which is a pretty niche thing to begin with.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have a product out the gate that allows people to do curved rim joists and curved features on a deck is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was, going back to the original development of Evolution, we wanted it to be as much like wood as possible. And I think with our curved rim joist, we actually made curves easier. If you're doing it with wood, you have to, build up plywood, weatherable plywood, or you have to curve the back of the board to get the curves. And with our curved rim joist, and the brackets that go along with it, you can basically make straight cuts at the end, and you have a lot of adjustability. So I've got a deck at my house that I built 2 years ago, and I've got a continuous about a 10-foot diameter, 10-foot radius curve. And it was quite easy to build it, and makes for a very nice looking finished product.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that before, but you're right. It would be easier, because that's how we used to do them back when I was building whatever. You'd kerf the living crap out of the back of a board and try to flex it and soak it in some water if you need to get a little bit tighter. And you do whatever you can to get there, and then you're affecting the integrity of the board a little bit the more you're kerfing it and whatever else. But that you just buy the curvable rim board, pick it up, and it's got the flex already built into it.
And with our powder coat on there, we have everything's Evolution has black our black sand powder coat on it. So, it's a nice looking product in and on its own. So you don't have to necessarily have to put a fascia board on it. But if you do, you've got a continuous steel surface with our steel screws that you can, you get a nice consistent curve that holds its shape over time.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now, we touched on a couple things, but what do you guys perceive as the biggest advantages that Fortress Evolution brings to the market? Like what are your kind of key marketing messages that you use to sell this product? It's like, is it ease of install? Is it familiarity? Like what's the...
Yeah, absolutely. I think you guys talked about the ease of install, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like that Lego set. It's great for people getting into it and transitioning from wood to steel.
Yeah.
Right. The other benefit, you get the nice aesthetics. So California deck pros, right? They're out there doing these crazy decks.
Yeah.
But you got the aesthetic of that steel frame. So as Kevin just mentioned, like if you don't put fascia on it, it still looks really cool.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that as well. And then just the fact that it's the full system.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got the screws, the brackets, the stair setup, being able to do curves. Right now you're taking our same material and you can build pergolas with it. So now you've got modern pergolas and traditional pergolas. So it's very advanced in that standpoint to where it really is, I don't know how many SKUs it is, but it is the full system.
Yeah.
You get everything you need from Fortress,
yeah.
which is cool. Now, obviously, you can do some custom stuff, and sometimes Kevin's probably going to speak to some of the new stuff that we're coming out with. Right, as we hear from contractors, the type of jobs they're doing, right, we take that back, and innovation team looks at that and says, okay, how do we continue innovating on evolution, right? How do we continue the evolution of our steel framing?
Yeah.
And
great,
I think
great pun.
Yeah. I had to sneak that one in.
I think what's great with the complete system, the kit, or the having all the components, is that that what you're actually doing is you're taking wood builders and converting them to steel, right? Like that's your opportunity. The opportunity isn't to get a steel guy and move to your product.
Yeah.
So the system has to look like something they know how to use or want to use, right? And so...
Well, I'll add one more thing. Just you look at all these composite PVC boards, right? 25, 30-year warranties, right? And they put them on a wood frame that's going to last maybe 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? So we got a 25-year warranty on our frame. Now your entire deck is protected.
Yeah.
Was it you guys that actually changed the price of lumber so high that it made steel easier to sell the last couple of years? Was it...
Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
Yeah. We had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Now that's some influence.
I would add on to what Tim said. One of the advantages that we have is, Austin, Texas. I believe they just went to, you can no longer build wood decks in a lot of areas because of the fire issues.
Correct.
The same with California and with our steel deck framing. It's not going to burn like wood. You can have fire treated wood, but it's just an advantage there as well.
So
Yeah.
we just quoted a project in Canada in one of the national parks, actually, and it had to be a Class A fire rating, and so I quoted it because
That's awesome.
That's something, right? You're in the parks, and they like if you have a fire in a park, it can be out of control so fast. Yep. So
Chicago's doing that too. Rooftops in Chicago.
okay,
I think they have to have Class A.
because they don't want to burn that city to the ground. It seems like
Hopefully
they're
not.
trying.
Especially not from the top, not from the rooftops.
Yeah. You mentioned new products, and I didn't know if we were allowed to go there or not, but we've got the director of innovation. So do you have some new products that you want to talk about, that whether it's
Yes.
related to steel framing or otherwise?
Okay, yeah. So on the steel framing side, so as the director of innovation of Fortress, my job is to continue to bring new. Well, not my job, but my team's job, to take feedback from customers, our suppliers, our contractors, and come up with new products that help fill a need or solve a pain point that they're having. So we've always got new products in the works. I wish we could come out faster with new products, but it does take a lot of resources to fully develop something and get it out there into the marketplace. But we've got with our Evolution system, we've got some new post sizes coming out, some new brackets, post mount brackets. There'll be brackets that allow the post to attach to beams. We're looking at some new fastening techniques for post. So all of our Evolution system has a CCR report with it. So we test everything through third party, and everything that we're working on will be included into that CCR report. So it'll be a fully code compliant system.
Nice.
And so you're working on those posts and those connections because, like, that's the feedback you're getting. Your contractors are telling you, listen, I'm doing a 20 by 20 deck, and I don't want to put it on skipped leg day posts,
Yeah.
right?
So,
It's like,
so Evolution's been out there for like 5 years now, and we came out with a 3.5 by 3.5 steel 11 gauge post, and it's the aesthetic is limiting sometimes. You got this, even though it's perfectly fine engineering wise, it does have the aesthetic can be quite it looks delicate.
Yeah,
so
it looks,
we come out with some more. We're coming out with several new post sizes that allow it to give a heavier look, but it also brings advantages in that now we have a larger surface on top of the post with the new brackets to eliminate some of the issues we've had in the past with when you have to butt two beams together over a post. So that's some of the development there. And then also on the post base side of it, we're doing some new things there to make it not only easier to install compared to our current post base, but and it's also just a more robust and heavier looking post base.
awesome.
And you've also got new lengths coming, because that's been something that's been a little bit limiting as well, because the existing post sometimes on a second story walkout or something wasn't long enough. You'd have to kind of source a custom thing, but you guys are coming out with some longer solutions to that as well.
Anything around the pergola designs? Because that sort of spawned. Would you say that the pergola spawned out of just like by accident? You know what I mean? Like you built this whole system for framing, and then all of a sudden somebody built it wrong, turned it into a pergola, and you're like,
Accidentally built it on top of the deck.
right. Yeah. That was supposed to go under the deck.
Yeah, so the founder of our company, Matt Scherstad, he, several years ago, he brought up the idea. Obviously you see things in the marketplace, and we've started to develop it. We learned that you can build a pergola with our existing Evolution product line, but there's just certain things. There's like lateral bracing. There's how do you deal with the end of a joist or your purlins to decorate those and make them look a little nicer than just a square in cut. So we're coming out with some things that'll allow it to be more dressed up looking, along with some additional 2x2 purlins.
Awesome.
We have a on our website today, I believe. Help me out here, Tim. But we do have plans available on the site, and then we are releasing a kit system here in the near future.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to add more over time with those like kind of custom designs to showcase like, hey, here's a cool pergola, right? And here's the takeoff. Here's the product you need to build that. And then the kits. Well, we're starting with 3 sizes of modern kits. So those will come pre-cut, pre-drilled, all packaged, ready to go. So you choose your size and you set it up for that DIYer, right?
Okay.
That homeowner.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the less thinking you can take out of it for especially for DIY, especially when they're maybe not used to working with steel either, and they don't understand
absolutely
all the cutting and the drilling and everything, right?
Yeah, you already have the hurdle of like, I'm not familiar with cutting this, and I for sure don't have the right tools. And so if you can eliminate, half of the pain points, you have a better chance of moving product, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
You mentioned it, so the access rail, can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
You've got working on a new rail panel system?
Yeah, so we've got we have our FE26 product line that's been our longest running railing product line. So we've got the traditional FE26, but we've also we're introducing a horizontal system. The product name is FE26 Axis, and it's a panelized system just like our FE26 product, but it is it allows you to because you have horizontal pickets, it can sometimes be difficult to trim those to length. So say you buy a 6-foot long panel, but you only need a 5.5-foot long piece. So the way we've designed it allows you to disassemble the panel, make cuts, and then slide it back together, and still get a nice clean look. So.
Okay.
If you like to see it, we'll put Kevin's address in the show notes.
Yeah.
It's on my
Just
house.
drive by his house.
Yeah, I was
Look
like,
at it.
I think I need to see that actually. So
Just so you know, there's, like we said earlier, there's 65 million people that listen to this, so you might have some
Some traffic
knocks on
in his
this.
neighborhood.
That's the director of innovation. I do have the luxury of getting to install things on my project. So
Yeah, hey,
I do have a total fortress solution at my house in Dallas. So
yeah,
it's worked out quite well for me. So.
yeah.
that's funny. So when you built your deck, you were the director of innovation for some of our stuff. So Shane built his own deck on his own personal house, and at that time he was still doing quite a bit of building, and he was trying to connect PVC boards on miters. And so you did 3 different miters and like actually attached them differently. Like the way he connected them was like, I'm going to do this one with biscuits and this one with glue and this one with just screws. And then
On his own deck.
yeah, and then it was like, now you'll be able to tell people, right? Because you can walk out and see it every
That's
day.
cool.
It's like, that one works. That one doesn't work, right? But You can't do that at somebody else's house, right?
Yeah.
Like if he shows up and does a trial run on your project, you're like, why do those miters work but that one doesn't? It was like, well, I was just trying some stuff, right? You're welcome.
My wife would make you redo it.
Yeah,
You gotta
right.
redo it.
Everyone would.
I'm about to redo it because like the ones that didn't work real well, now I'm like, I got to replace these boards. It doesn't look good anymore. You guys also have your fencing out here. I know we didn't kind of pre-talk about that, but your fencing product is out here as well, which is cool. I haven't seen that in person, just in brochures before. Do you want to talk about the fencing at all?
Yeah, so Ashley on his property here, he's got our Versailles residential fencing along with our estate. Its estate is a composite fence. It's a steel frame with wood inserts. So you use a standard, a 1x6 cedar picket. We also sell composite pickets from our Oasis product line. So you get the advantage of the long time durability of a steel frame, and then you can have an infill with estate. So in addition to that, the 2 panels that Ashley has here on his property, we've got aluminum fences as well, our Athens product lines, and along with some high security stuff that we're developing.
Yeah, it looks pretty sharp out there. The black and cedar is always
So
It looks
big.
good, yeah.
it's hard to mess that one up, right?
Yeah.
It looks really, really good out here too. So, well, that's awesome. We're not too far away from supper time here, so I don't want to keep you guys for too long because you look hungry. I mean, not as hungry as he
I'm
looks.
tired.
But
Right?
It's been a long day.
It's been a
have
good
you guys
couple days.
you've been out in the tools a bit too, hey?
What's that?
Have you been out in the tools out there a little bit too?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
I've been building, so
Yeah, that's
Ashley,
amazing. Like,
I apologize if that frame has any issues.
yeah. No, they both look plenty strong. That's the nice thing about steel; it's super strong. So if you have
Yeah,
some
it's
error,
hard. It's hard to
like-
mess up.
Yeah, that's right.
We had the luxury of Fortress being over in Dallas, 2 hours away. We had a lot of people from our teams come over, and it was fun today with the camp. We were working with the camo fastener, and there were several people on our team that had probably never touched a drill, and they were able to put the camo fastener up there and use it. And it was fun to see somebody who hadn't done something like use power tools before, and they were actually able to contribute to the build and take part in that. So it was just a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely a good, not a formal partnership, but the camo system, the X metal fasteners with your framing is like a match made in heaven. They're both very easy and simple to use, and anybody can do it. Like one of the first steel frame jobs we did last year was just a father and son team DIY project that went out and did it, and it was great because they gave us a lot of feedback too, because it was relatively new at that point for us too. But in general, they were like, it was actually like pretty simple. And they're not contractors. They don't own every tool. Like they figured it out pretty easily.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and they brought us.
it was a big job.
It was, yeah, and they brought us a few things. They were trying to fasten the posts, like a wind wall privacy post, onto their deck, and so in Canada, a lot of our stuff is all surface mounted, right? Like we stock and sell AL13 home, and so that was what they used for the majority of their deck. But then they also had a privacy wall, and so they came back and they're like, "These are the screws that we found work the best. We did tap and die set for the framing, and we use these bolts, and they work great." And so that helped us because at that point we didn't have a solution. It was like, right, yeah, about the railing. It was like, well, we have the frame and the decking, and then the Camo's fasteners work well. So, anyways, it's good to watch everybody kind of work together and just build the whole system.
Yeah,
So
it's been fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to see what else you guys are coming out with, because you're definitely in a market and in a business that's pretty exciting for us to be watching. Of course, outdoor living and backyard living is pretty cool. So I like seeing new products that come out, and it sounds like you guys got some on the back burner, or not, maybe on the foreburner. Yep. So looking forward to seeing that from you guys in the next little bit here. But for now, we're going to take off, go get some grub, and make this night happen.
thanks for sitting down, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships, or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.